All right, so this is a quick video on setting up a Modbus TCP polling on an Orbit Cellular where we're doing serial translation on the remote. So in this scenario, I'm using a program called Modpoll, which I'm just going to stop that real quick. So this is a command line, just Modbus polling program. And my parameters here are just basically Modpoll. I'm doing Modbus TCP. I have an interval delay of 3000, and I have a 4-second timeout delay. So actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you those values. So poll rate is 3000, timeout in seconds is 4, and then the WAN IP address of the device that I'm polling, which is shown there. So, and you can see this is working. So in my efforts, basically this is a timeout kind of dance. There's a timeout here, which we've extended, and then there's some timings on the orbit, which I'm going to show you. So that again. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and log in. Okay. So as far as setup is concerned, let me just show you the serial port setup. So we're running a Modbus TCP server, right? And you can see here we have our traffic. And how we did this was we set up our COM port. So in that scenario, we're doing RS-232, 19.2, 891. And this was pretty much my fix right here. So I was using 1 on both of these fields, and I was getting a timeout. And the default, I think, is like 250. It's kind of high. So, you know, this is kind of where you're going to probably find if you're getting your data, but it's timing out. So it's passing, but not actually working. This is probably where you need to go. But again, this is just buffers. So if we look here, the minimum characters before we read the serial port and it's processed, and then the amount of time in milliseconds between reads on the serial port. Now, as far as how I set up the terminal server, that's going to be down here. And here we go. So Modbus TCP, we're doing a Modbus TCP, we're doing a server. And then in my scenario, and this doesn't necessarily have to be the same for you, the local port I'm using is 503. And I'm actually using a different port for translation, which really doesn't need to be different, but for me it's just a little easier to troubleshoot. So again, locally on the local orbit, we are basically taking serial RTU and we're putting it in a Modbus TCP server, and it's using port 503. And then we've got some more timeouts here, right? These are all default. So how do we do that? Well then, so now we have a NAT policy. So this is a port forwarding policy, and I'm going to show you that. So here's our destination NAT. Here's our port forward. And the policy is pretty simple. So we're saying TCP coming in. So if it's on 502, so that is different than our local server. We're going to basically forward that to the local orbit. So this is the LAN address of this orbit we're looking at. And we're going to do 503. So it comes in to our WAN address. It's translated to the local orbit address, and then it's moved to port 503, which is our local RTU server. We get our response, and that's what you see here. So this is my polling of a remote RTU quote-unquote serial device. And that was it. Now, the only thing that I added, which I'm not necessarily sure was necessary, because once I fixed those timings, it seemed to work, but we can test this real quick. But I just want you to be aware. So I did add a gateway route just in case. So I basically said here, outgoing interface, this is cellular, and then I'm saying all networks, And then the next hop is this. So this is my WAN address from the network that I'm polling through, right? So we can find out really quickly if this is necessary. And we're just going to delete it. I'm going to save this. I'm going to come back over here. I'm going to cancel this poll. Okay, so, just good to note, it didn't hurt, which means probably the Orbit's default route was already doing that, and it was already working. But just kind of have a heads up that, again, every network may be just a little different, but as far as the configuration, this should get you, if not a home run, it'll get you in the game, and then you can just sort of do some tweaking from there. I hope this has been valuable. Look forward to hearing from you guys. Thanks again. Have a great day.